gentlemen, welcome back to Objects in the Mirror, the podcast that asks the question, as it concerns the racial history of our country, are the objects in the mirror closer than they appear or not? Thank you so much for joining us for episode 1. I got a lot of great feedback, and as a matter of fact, before you go any further, I want you to like, I want you to subscribe, share this podcast via social media. You can follow us on Twitter at OITM Podcast. That's at OITM Podcast. This is episode 2, part A. A conversation that I had with my Aunt Dot. I really enjoyed everything that she had to say, and I hope you enjoy as well. You know, part of this, I want people to know that this isn't stuff that's just talked about in history books. More importantly, I'm doing it more so for my family, because I want my kids, when they grow up, they're going to be further away from that era of time. And I just want them to know that this is the things that their family members, their blood relatives experienced. So start wherever you want to start, and you know, every now and then I'll chime in with a question.
Okay, first of all, Devontae, this is an honor. The date is 12/26/17. And I am really excited about this year, even though we have had some things that we may call disappointing or bad. But they were not bad, it was all good. And for you to think enough of me to want to interview me, it's an honor. You were a little boy. Now you are a grown, responsible man who seemed to be on the right track. Our family has really been blessed when it comes to education, because my parents were not college graduates. But my father and mother always said they wanted each one of us out of 8 children to do the best they could and to do better than they had done. And it kind of instilled in me, and that's my desire, is to talk to all of the children, not only my family, but to encourage them to always do their best, and to do their best especially when it comes to education. Well, where I'm from, really it's nothing to do in my day was to be a teacher, a nurse, farm, and work at one of the military bases. So as a little girl, I had many dolls that were purchased for me by my older siblings. I played school all the time. They tell me that I used to work my dolls because I would ask them how much 2 and 2 was, and they wouldn't tell me. So I worked them and told them tomorrow they better know their lesson. So I played school before I really became a teacher. But after I went to Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, that's where I got my degree from. They taught me well. And I feel that I have done a very, very, very good job in instilling in my children and teaching the whole child, not just part of the child. Now back to my early education. There were some hard times because the school that I went to was called Gatlin Creek Elementary School. It went to first grade through the 8th. And it was time for us to go to high school. Well, I had to ride this bus. Now, mind you, when I was in the 1st to the 8th grade, we had a school. It was all, at that time, they called us Negroes. You know, we have had 3 different names that I can remember. We were Negroes. Then we became, what was the other names? They call us Afro-Americans. Or blacks and then Afro-Americans. Okay. So we had to pass to go into high school now. I had to be dressed at 7 o'clock to get on the school bus to ride until 9 o'clock when we finally got to school, because we had to go through by Sand Hill, up to Goose Creek, up to Reelsboro, back to Grantsboro, the Alliance, then to Bayboro. Well, by this time, we really needed lunch because we had been up since 6 o'clock getting ready for school. But I was fortunate because my cousins drove the school bus and they turned around in my dad's store yard. So I was the first one to get on the school bus and could choose any seat I wanted. So we went on, and to get to my school, to get to Bayboro, if we went to Arapahoe, there was a high school there, but we couldn't go there. Not because we were not smart enough, but because of the segregation. Had we gone to Oriental, they had a school there. They had a school in Alliance. That means 2 schools one way and 1 school one way. That's 3 schools we could have gone to, which would have been on a half an hour ride. But like I said, we left home at 7 o'clock. We barely got to school at 9. That
So,
was almost punishment.
so the other schools, the one in Alliance and the one in Oriental,
They were for white
they were for
children
white children.
only.
Okay, got you.
Only.
And this
Only.
is when you were in
8, 9,
10th
10,
grade. Gotcha.
11, 12.
You want him to do so much you could do anything.
I guess I want to pick back up on, I guess, growing up in this part of the country, in Eastern North Carolina, and when you, did you know? First question is when you weren't able to go to like the white schools, as it concerns segregation. I mean, did you know what it was? Did you know why you weren't able to go there? And then also, like, what were your thoughts and feelings about it then? Like,
But we knew because when you have 8 children and everybody's ahead of you, you kind of learn from the older ones. And being a big farming area, the gentleman down at the river there, Mr. Lee, that was my father's good friend, and he would come and ask my dad if I could go to work for him and his potatoes in October. And my dad said, Dawn, are your children going to be on the bus, or are they going to be working in your field and potato? He said, my children got to go to school. My daddy said, well, my girls going to go to school too. They're going to go to college just like yours. Daddy taught us, whatever you do, you got to do it better than the whites. We thought that the day would never come, that we would see when they were saying equal, but yet it was separate. For an example, the new buses came to the county. The white schools got the new buses. We got the old raggedy buses. Same thing about the books. I am the first child in my family to have a year that I had all new books. My name was the first one. You used to write your name in the front part on the back. You wrote your name. You wrote the condition of the book when the teacher gave it to you. You wrote the condition of the book in another column when you turned it in. So I was really fortunate to have the new books. But we knew it was something different that we could not go. And the only thing it was that we could say was the color of our skin because we were black. But we knew wherever you went to school, you could do your best. And yet, when you go north, and like now, we had to go to an all-black school. There are children who've gone to Duke. They've gone to University of New York, Chicago, California, wherever. But the thing about how I became so secure about my education was, even now, I tell anybody who graduated from Duke, graduated from Shaw University, the first year teaching, our salaries are the same. Production is the key now, and not the color of the skin. So you must do your best every day and be open for suggestions. But we knew that it was something different, that we could not go to those schools. But it didn't stop us because, talking about writing a book, I wish someone could write a book about the roots of Pamlico County. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we have people who work for Homeland Security, we have people who worked in the White House. We have so many of our children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews that have worked in these positions coming from back in the day when the schools were segregated. But they made it. But nobody hardly talks about it. I guess they don't want to say they're bragging about their children. It's not bragging, but I think it's letting other people know what you can do. Where you came from is not that important. Where you're going is the most important.
Mm-hmm.
If we could do what we did and the pressure and getting us up at 7 o'clock to go, no, on the bus at 7 o'clock. Some children had to stay out and work on the farm. Some children worked at the craft factory. Why can't you do whatever you set your goal to do? You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then most of all was encouragement. Our parents all the time did not use proper language or English, but when they spoke, we understood. And when they came to school, we were not ashamed of our parents because of the way they spoke. They knew, and they taught us to speak correctly. My mother, you would have thought she was straight from New York City. But she didn't have much. But what we had was clean, in order, and everybody were welcome. And the most important thing, school is very, very important. But knowing how to treat each other is the most important.
I would say like during the time of the civil rights era, especially late 50s, 60s. Was there like did you have an awareness? And did you have an awareness of what was going on in the country as it concerns Black people and their desire to be treated equally?
I did. Because like I said, my parents taught it to us. Number one, you're Black. Number two, you got to be not just as good, you have to be better. And we knew about the movement because I watched it on TV with my father. They talked it in our home. We knew the power and the clout that Dr. King had. We knew that whatever you do, you have to have a strong leader. And he was, even though he had other people helping him, like our Mr. Jesse Jackson and Abernathy and all of them were in his corner, but he was the main leader. And to know how he came about, a lot of people thought he was poverty-stricken. He was really, his family were very well-to-do. But he gave up so much for us, and it was taught to us in school and at home. If this one man could give up, and he knew he was going to be assassinated. He knew someone would kill him. And we were encouraged to listen to him. We were encouraged to do better. And the most valuable lesson I learned from him was to turn the other cheek. I said it, but I don't know if I could have done it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I knew I was very well aware of the segregation. I was aware of that I could not go to Belts. I was aware of all of this when I couldn't eat at the restaurant. I can aware when I had to go to Moore's Barbecue around the back door to get a barbecue sandwich. But yet my money was green. And when he built the place out on Route 70 East, that's when Blacks could go there to even sit down and eat a sandwich that we were buying from him. He found that somebody woke him up. And the people themselves had to individually make the change and accept us, just like we had to accept them. And now it's a big struggle because we know that we can't hold this against them because most of the people that mistreated us from slavery, they're dead and gone. Mm-hmm. So why are we trying to carry this on from generation to generation, the hate and the killing and all of the unnecessary things that's going on in our lives? What are we going to do about it? How can we do it? Who are we going to turn to? And this right here It's where we have to bring God in. Most black people, we know about God. We know about the struggle. And we know who brought us thus far. And we know who's going to carry us further. What the end is going to be, we don't know. But things, I feel, will get better before they keep getting worse. And the word for the United States is unity. We have to be unified. What are we going to do? Each of us get in our own little patch? We will never get much done. But if each of us come out of the box, come out of our shells, and work together in unity, we can make Pamplico County a great county.
Mm-hmm.
Give a job as a clerk.
Say that. Can you say that again?
About the jobs as a teenager, my teenager life. The only thing I could do in the summer was to work in tobacco and to work in corn and sweet potatoes. And I made up my mind I was going to have me a job that I could go to work dressed up every day and my hands would not get dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And what, again, like I said, it was nothing for me to do as a black girl but to be a teacher or a nurse. Well, I don't like blood and I'm scared of sick folk. So I had no choice but to be a teacher. But I made up my mind it would be going down in history that I was one of the best.
So, did you, when you growing up in Eastern North Carolina, and then you went to college in Raleigh, right?
Yes,
That's in the state capital.
yes.
Did how was your perspective changed? You know, like I guess would you come back down here during the summer times or?
Yes.
Okay, so when you traveled off, was off in college, learning new things, meeting new people from different states and different parts of North Carolina. When you came back to Eastern North Carolina, and particularly as it concerns, things of race and race relations, did your perspective change any? Did it grow any? Did it expand?
Okay, well, when I was in college in the summertime, I worked one summer in tobacco. Then I went up in the Catskill Mountains of New York to work in the summer. And I worked for some very rich Jews. And he was so strict on the girls, like we were his children. He said we came up there with no babies and we would leave him with no babies. He said, your parents trust you to come up here to work for me. And you were in school. He taught us a lot. He taught to us about saving our money. He taught us about not letting the boys fool us. You came here as one, you go back home as one, because I want to see you next summer. And it gave you the feeling of that you were somebody, because here's a man that's taking the interest in you. It's because you worked in his making up the beds or in the dining room. Those are the two jobs that they had for us. Well, they had maintenance, but most of the men did that. But he kind of instilled in you to have that security that I'm somebody and I can do this. I don't have to take this because I'm not ready for this job. He taught us to be ready because you don't know what your opportunities are going to be, but you be ready for it. And when I came back home, I kind of had an attitude that I'm not working in your tobacco field anymore.
Yeah.
I did. I said I'm not looping in the tobacco anymore. I'm not going out there in your potato patch anymore. And that's when I made up my mind. You got to stay in school, kiddo. That's the only way you're gonna make it.
Okay. So how about, you mentioned earlier about, going out to, I guess this is as an adult, after you got married, and then you were out in Hawaii. What was was there any, I guess when you were out there, Hawaii hadn't been too long to become a part of the United States. What was there anything dealing with race and segregation or even just discrimination and stuff like that going on out there? Was it different? Was it?
Okay, in Hawaii, I I did not experience any mistreating me because I was black. I was the first black teacher ever to teach at Ali Emmanuel Elementary School downtown in Honolulu. And they really looked up to me and they valued my opinion. That was right. We had just had the assassination of Dr. King that April, and I went there that June, and I got the job. The first job I went on for the interview, I was accepted, and I had my job. But the people there treated me very well. I had more trouble with the whites who were there, like I was military, than I did the Hawaiians, the natives. And after a while, we blended, and it didn't matter. We were just there to teach. But I did not have anyone to personally, I don't know what was going on in their minds. They invited me to different activities, socially, religiously, and having to do work related. But no one never mistreated me. I was never called a name in my face. Never. Never.
Did you experience that in North Carolina growing up?
Well, yes, because sometimes on the school bus, we would meet, our parents didn't know this, we would meet out there at the cash corner and invite the white kids to get off.
Oh, to
Get
fight?
off the bus. Yeah. Yeah, they'd be calling us the N-word, we'd be calling them the C-word.
Okay.
There was one rich one up there, and that's Don Lee's children, the rest of you just as poor as we are. We talk trash to them. But yet, when we worked in the field, we were friends. But yet, we couldn't go to the restaurant and sit down and eat with them. We didn't go to their churches. Now I notice that the churches in Pamlico County and Arapahoe are visiting each other, blacks and whites. And that didn't happen during my day. Now, some of them may come like if somebody died that they knew real well. They would come and show their respect for the wake, but they seldom would sit the whole time. But now, I mean, we go to their church, we stand up and clap if we want to. They come to our church, we stand up and clap because over here at Mount Zion, Missionary Baptist Church, the third Sunday in August, we had guests, and I did not know them. I think they're from upstate somewhere. But they came to Mount Zion. And those people enjoyed themselves. All they know, they were praising God. I don't think one of them looked around and said, oh, we're white and you all are black. Mm-hmm. Everybody seemed to be on one accord. Now, that wouldn't have happened back in the 60s. I don't think so. And I hear that the other Free Will Baptist Church out of Arapahoe, they have a Christmas pageant. And some of our black people go and they enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So I did not experience anyone calling me that face to face. And I worked with Global, and in eating lunch, that would come up sometimes, which is a subject I try to stay away from, but it would come up. And I told one of the white girls, one of my friends, you should be the principal, because you have always had all opportunities. We had to struggle for our opportunities and our education. You all didn't. And I said, that's why I'm smarter than you. We would talk trash to them. Oh, well, we don't feel that we are superior. I said, but sometimes you try to act it, but let me tell you about yourself. But on a whole, I didn't ever have anybody to just come out, let's meet me in the street and say it. No, that didn't happen to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of episode 2A. Remember, there'll be a part B, and I can't wait to finish up our conversation with Aunt Dot. In the meantime, go check out the music of Snapcat. She's an independent artist out of Houston, Texas. The song that you heard today was called Tokyo Dream. You can find her music on SoundCloud.com. She posts new music there regularly. Find her on SoundCloud by searching SNPKVT. Follow her on Twitter at SNPKITTEN. You can also follow us on Twitter at OITM Podcast. I notice a lot of letters. Lastly, listen, when you share this, no matter what devices your friends or family have, there's a platform for them to listen to the podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play Music. We're on Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. Just go search Objects in the Mirror. Hey, I can't wait to get episode 2B to you. Keep it locked and have a great week.